What up, guys? So at the time of recording this, the UFC BJJ show just ended, and was just sort of processing my thoughts, and I figured I'd share with you guys. And I'm curious, what the jiu-jitsu world thinks of the UFC's inaugural jiu-jitsu show. Obviously, they have the Fight Pass, but this is their first time doing the UFC BJJ show. So I'm curious what you guys think. You can drop those in the comments. But I was watching the show. I think they did a lot of stuff right. There's some things I don't like, but overall, I thought they did a good job with it. So I'll share my thoughts, and you guys can share yours down in the comments. So first off, I think they did a good job of looking at what was working and being like, all right, we're gonna use that. This may sound like I'm ragging on them in a second, but I'm not, because when you think of martial arts, what do? We're all like sort of iterating on other people. We take ideas from our coaches, we make it our own, and then if you become a coach, your students are gonna take from you, and we just sort of do this thing where we're building off one another. But essentially, to me, just as my bearded opinion, last year the CJI sort of changed the game. Just my thoughts, right? I watched that event. I was at that event. I was skeptical at it at first. Many of you guys know that I was I don't know about this stuff. I don't know what Craig Jones is doing. Went to the event, loved it. The energy in the room was amazing. The matches were amazing. The pit, I didn't know what to think of the pit, but the pit was amazing because you then got rid of being out of bounds. There was no more out of bounds. And when you think about just watching a lot of other competitions, what's one of the worst parts about watching those competitions? Going out of bounds. And especially in jiu-jitsu where there's not a lot of stalling calls, people will back up and they go out of bounds. So you eliminated one of the most sort of action stopping things that happens, and boom, you had constant action, the pit. You then took a longer match and broke it down into smaller rounds, smart, because long matches are boring. I don't know why, the ADCC, for instance, has these incredibly long, grindy, they're so boring. They're super fights. It's just not a good idea. Shorten the time, people go faster, right? So I thought the round system was great because you're breaking up a long duration into short chunks. And also, too, you would see the momentum shift from time to time in some of the matches. And then you're doing a ref's decision, a judge's decision, which I think is a smart thing to do, because one of the things that you watch in competitions is if there's points, and again, I like points. I've competed in point-based competitions. I've succeeded in point-based competitions. But when you watch it, watch the demeanor. As soon as that thing says 1-0, in many cases, the competitor who is winning changes. All of a sudden, it's their match to lose. Now, some competitors will continue to press, but many of them will start to play not to lose. And so you eliminate that by having a judge's decision, because now it's I don't know how the judge is looking at this thing. Am I winning him? And I don't know. It's not there. So they have to keep going. They press a little harder. I actually talked to one of the guys that competed at my Chewjitsu Open show, which we do a ref's decision, judge's decision kind of thing. And he was saying, he said, man, I felt like that rule set pushed me more to get more out of my game because I didn't know if I was winning. So, even though I felt like I was in the driver's seat, I kept pressing, the action because I wanted to make sure that at the end of it, I did enough to look good in front of them. And so I thought that was a great format for jiu-jitsu last year. Thought they, as far as spectator jiu-jitsu, I thought they changed the game on it. So congrats to Craig on that. And the UFC said, hey, good idea, right? And they made their Octa Bowl, which is a slight variation of the pit, right? But they made their little Octa Bowl, and then they took some good matches. Now, another thing that they did that worked is they were taking people from different shows. They took a good amount of the roster from the PGF. My buddy Brandon McGaffron runs the PGF, and they had their PGF season last year, and it was super exciting, right? With Andy Varel and all those guys. Oh my God, super exciting. Took a bunch of those guys, put them in there with some other really good fighters, and said, here we go, right? And so I thought they did a really good job of saying, this is working, let's combine this together and make it our own. So they took the CGI, they took some of the PGF roster, plus other people, smashed it together, and then they put the UFC marketing and promotional muscle behind it, and they made a show that I thought was pretty good. Put on one of the most sort of well-produced jiu-jitsu shows that we've ever seen, right? They did a really good job of doing it. It was like watching The Ultimate Fighter, but the UFC grappling sort of thing. And I think that, when we talk about getting more casual people into jiu-jitsu competitions, the UFC has the brand recognition to possibly facilitate that. Now, I've spoken about this before. I don't think jiu-jitsu is ever going to be like the casual spectator sport like basketball, MMA, boxing, or any of those other things are. I don't think it's ever going to become that. I think what it will maybe become is maybe you get more of us that grapple that, well, not me, I'm an enthusiast for competitions, but there's a lot of people in grappling that do not watch grappling, right? They do it, they like it, they participate in it, but they do not watch the sport itself because they're bored with it. or maybe they've just not gotten into an event they like. So I think that is the people to get, not the random spectators, not the UFC fan who does not train, but like the people that are already training, getting more of them involved, because I think jiu-jitsu is always going to be spectated by the actual participants, not by random people who do not train in it. You don't think you'll ever get, I've never done jiu-jitsu in my life. Man, I just want to watch jiu-jitsu all day long. There will be exceptions to it, of course, but generally speaking, I think that'll be the rule. The things that I'm sort of either indifferent towards or kind of like, whatever about. One, like, I don't know if they said this somewhere or whatever, but they came in was like, basically, this is the Ultimate Fighter, but for jiu-jitsu, we're going to revolutionize jiu-jitsu. And I don't think you can do that, right? Like, I was around when The Ultimate Fighter came out in 2005, right? When they had that famous Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin fight. I was watching it live, and I mean, all of us are watching and going, oh my God, this is crazy, this is a crazy fight. And, it was an amazing event, but it's like you can't capture lightning in a bottle twice like that. Not for this kind of stuff. The culture is different. The environment's different. Also, you can't have the same sort of theatrics that you had with the same level of drama with all the craziness because, I was talking to my co-host Eugene on our podcast just the other day about this. I'm like, when you look at jiu-jitsu grapplers, and I love this about our sport. It's one of my favorite things about it, and it's one of the reasons why I quit MMA and why I wanted to focus mostly on jiu-jitsu, is the people are just cool. Right? Like when you look at all the people when they were kind of giving their breakdowns of who they are, like half of them were like, yeah, man, I've got my kid or my kids and I got my wife or my girlfriend, whatever. And I really love her and I really love them and everything I do for them. And like I train hard and I just want to be a good example. Those are great people. That's fantastic. Those are the people you want to get behind. Those are the people I want to have a beer with, right? But they don't make for good reality TV shows, right? They're just too cool. They're just too nice. Too respectful. I like that about the sport, though. But again, it doesn't make for good reality TV shows for your average people. Also, too, with the event, the fighters that they had on the actual people, like Andy Varela, Andrew Tackett, all these different guys that they had in there, they were great. But like the headline fight, nobody cared. Right? You had Mikey Musumeci, very good, right? And he had a very skilled opponent. But there was no drama to it. There was no like, ooh, this is the fight we've all been waiting for. Here it is. It's like, huh? Like this, nobody's interested in it. There's nothing to it. And you couldn't set up that drama with each other either, right? They were just kind of like, hey, these are the two guys that are going to fight because we put it together. So you didn't have that like interest in it. I was like, when I watched the main card, I was interested in like the headlining fights that they had, and I watched some of the other matches, watched the Mikey match, but I just wasn't interested in it. And I felt like that was for a lot of people. They just were like, meh. And I feel like they just shoved it out. Hey, we're doing this, and this is the guy that we're going to put out there, and this is what's going to happen, right? I think of this is partly because of the exclusive contracts, which I just don't like. I always thought it was crappy for the fighters because they get locked into these really long contracts, and then sometimes they're sitting on the shelf for years, and they don't get to fight, they don't get to test themselves, and as a competitor, you've got a limited shelf life of your prime years. And if you're not getting used a lot, like you don't get to improve, you don't get to make money as much, you don't get a lot of things. There's a lot that comes with competing, a reason why you want to compete on some regularity. And so for these grapplers that, because of the exclusive contracts, I know it sort of got some people to shy away from it. And so I wonder what's going to happen with this. I don't know the answers, of course, right? Because maybe they lock everybody up that they want into an exclusive contract, and then the UFC builds up really big like the UFC is in MMA, and then they run this thing, and they build it up, and it becomes great. But my worry would also be, what if they lock everybody or lock some people down in contracts, but then there's a lot of other really good grapplers that are over here, and so you've got like a handful of really good grapplers that are locked into these contracts, and we never get to see the matches that we really want to see. I don't know what the stipulations of their contracts are. Maybe some of you guys have more input on their contracts, but from the sounds of it so far, it's like they're talking about exclusivity. And I could understand why, because let's say if you have a champion, you don't want your champion to go to this organization and possibly lose and make your stock fall down, right? You want to protect that brand, if you will. But, again, for me, it's one of those things we're thinking about it. It would be a bummer to have a situation where you never get to see who the best is. We saw that in MMA back in the day where, you had Pride and you had the UFC, and we never really got to see the cross happen. We never got to see Fedor when he was in his prime fight the UFC fighters when they were in their prime. And it was always kind of like, we want to see that. And in grappling, for the most part, we've always been able to see that. They go into a tournament, they go into an organization, whatever. They throw them together, they put them out there, and we get to see who the best is. So I would like to see that continue to be a thing. And again, this is just We're talking out loud. It's not like I've thought this stuff out. I've not scripted this. This is just off the top of my head, just thinking with you guys. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed it. Kind of flipped through when I was watching it. I'd flip through it and get to the actual matches. Didn't really spend too much time watching the reality show stuff that they were putting in there, but enjoyed it. Thought it was a good event. Hope they continue to do more of them. I'm just curious, again, to see what they do with the contractual stuff, if they lock it down like they do in the MMA, or if they tend to keep it a little bit more open. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on it? How did you like it? Is there anything that you disliked? Is there anything you thought was really good? Do you think they changed the game in any way? Maybe I'm missing something? Curious. Let me know what you think. I'll talk to you guys next time.